first you got to see what you want, accept this is what you want, and then rehearse it as the most playful moment when you are playing with G.I. Joes or with Barbie dolls or, oh, remember the kitchenette set that we got? And then the fake food that looked so real. Oh, I made mud pies that looked so real. And then I made a mistake in eating my mud pie. And I realized that, ooh, well, dirt didn't taste very good. And then, and making a mistake and then realize that, well, you could still make the dirt pie, but then that's when I got older, and then I became a really great chef and know how to make really great desserts. So, but you gotta have fun. You gotta have fun doing it inside your nervous system because that's what you have to rewire that response. And you gotta plan the moment when you're gonna have a twitch and then know that it's lying to you. Your nervous system is lying to you. It lies to you often.
Welcome, Rose.
I'm excited and nervous at the same time. Oh my gosh, it's like a butterfly in my stomach.
Yeah, awesome. So why don't you just start by helping people get to know you a little bit and tell them about what got you interested in hypnosis and what did you first use hypnosis to help yourself with?
I came in, I still remember that fateful day, maybe 7 years ago, where I was getting my CEU. It's a continuing education for a licensed professional counselor. And that was with Julie. And then Heather was there. And I didn't realize that anyway. And then, of course, Scott was there. And Scott was the lead. And I was like, oh my gosh. One of the moments was when I believe Julie did an induction. I didn't know what the hell it was at that moment, but it was an induction now. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so impressed. I am so impressed. And then when Scott did the induction about the weight loss, that was like, oh, amazing. So then back then, I didn't realize, I knew I needed to lose weight, but in my head, your map's not your territory. In my head, I thought I was a size 2, but oh, no, 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 no. I was 190 pounds back then. All right, and I needed to lose some weight. And then, so just to make a long story short, I was like so into it. I was so into Scott because he has this way about him. Oh my gosh. And then for lunch, I remember because it was this nice waiter that came into it was at the hotel and one by one got our what we wanted. So I ordered a burger. And then first he asked me, this fine guy who was an Hispanic guy with dark hair, I still remember him. He goes, now, Rose, do you want French fries or do you want a salad? And then I paused. Like a salad. Salad is much better for me. So from that point on, it was amazing. And then another one I remembered was this when that evening we were gonna. I wanted because we had a free stage hypnosis, right? It was Scott. So then I was so mesmerized by this guy who could get people to just quack like a duck, and I wanted to be like him. So that's how I started, really. Yeah, so that if from the get and the go, it was like if Scott got me to eat a salad because I had a French fries instead, that was like, wow, amazing, So that's how Scott got started.
Yeah. All right. Great. And so you were training with Julie. And for people to know, Julie and Heather and Scott are all trainers with the Master Hypnotist Society, and Scott is the head of Master Hypnotist Society. So your first experience was having that really magical classroom experience and discovering what was possible because you saw yourself changing because of it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much of myself I needed to fix at that moment. Not the amount I had to fix into what my many fears that I have was stacked and decked. I didn't realize it. Coming from, I was a clinical smartass who thought that I didn't have to level ever again, meaning I had this very childlike thing about life. Life should all be roses, and I don't ever have to do a firework of change. It's just me. Done to you, done to you, done to you. You do. I don't have to do anything anyway. So I didn't realize the amount of pressure I really put on myself. If I had to go back in time, I'll probably tell the past me, "You're doing things just right. Just hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. Be patient and be kind. Patient and kind to yourself is the answer."
Great. Yeah. And so as you grew into this, so eventually you actually took over Julie's clinic in Houston,
Hmm.
Southeast
That's right.
Hypnosis, and you became a hypnotist yourself and a trainer. But when you were at that first training, you were already a therapist. Is that right?
Correct. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So you were helping people full time. It was your profession to do that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's really interesting to see how different this was for you than that type of training, because you were already in the business of helping people improve their
Hmm.
lives, and yet you thought it should be done to you, or that there was nothing you needed to change.
Yeah, it was also, now looking back, I didn't see my years of being a counselor as a success.
Hmm.
I had to work about 100 hours a week in order to make 80 to, what is it, 80 to 89, 90K in a year.
Hmm.
And then when I look back, because I was training a lot of papers, and then I look back now and I go, wow. I remember that me there thinking I was a failure because I was the pressure to be perfect. Where the suggestion is you get in the habit of looking in the mirror and then see what you're good at and what you need to do more of. Well, I looked at it sort of like Santa Claus. Well, I was the evil Santa Claus, and I was making a list of what I did wrong and never what I did well. And then by going back, and I was, because I had to get rid of a lot of paper. I'm a paper hoarder, and then shredding it. Looking back, I was thinking, wow, wow, this is, you really succeeded here. And it was, oh, I don't know. So I had these moments when I going back, I was thinking, I can't believe I was such a Nini Pooper, you know.
Uh-huh. So even though you were succeeding and doing great, you thought that you were failing at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bad habit, right? So which means then it was like knowing is half the battle.
Hmm.
Knowing what you're doing, consciously what you're doing, and then there'll be a moment when you have your hand in the cookie jar. Um, there'll be a moment where go ahead for about 1 second, have your hissy fit, have your temper tantrum, be a kid in diapers, uh, and then you're gonna realize this is sort of like what Scott was said. This is that I thought that I was drowning in 3 feet of water, and all I had to do was stand up. One of the moments is that when I watched the Princess Bride, the pirate, what's his name? I'm so bad with names.
The
I
Dead
couldn't
Pirate
get to the pirate.
Robert.
Hmm. And then when he said, "Well, I've been in the revenge business for so long." And he didn't know what the hell he needed to do with himself. And I goes, oh my gosh, I want to get my language clean. Oh my gosh, I was in the revenge business for so long. And then I had the leftover feeling like your hand is in the cookie jar, and I didn't know what to do. Because I was just, that's what I'll tell you is that don't wander aimlessly in the earth to figure out, okay, am I going to be okay? Yes, you are fine. You're fine. You're making a change. Don't overthink it, because then you're going to go backwards. Just keep going. Just keep going. Don't overthink it. Just keep going. It's normal to have that hand in the cookie jar. Well, don't go whammer that hand. Just go easy going. Make
Hmm.
Think of it as in a calm, relaxed way, float above, and think of it like a child at play. I think of that moment when I was in Lufkin, Texas, and then in St. Mary's. Uh, my dad thought, this is coming from Vietnam, fresh off the boat. We thought that he thought that the best schools were always going to be in private school. But then he, the parishioners there at St. Mary's Catholic Church said, not necessarily. You can't afford private school. Public school is fine. I don't remember how long I was in private school at St. Mary's Catholic Church, but I remember this story though. Is that what I want people to just chase the success like a child at play. I remember going the hula hoop, and at first, it was this cute boy. I just remember he was really cute, and I thought he was really cute. Either way, so then he taught me how to do the hula hoop. And after school, I don't remember, but I just this, which is the part I remember. This was this is that he wanted me to then, because he had faith in my ability. He had faith because I was working really hard. I didn't have the faith in myself. And he knew that. This young boy knew that. And he wanted me to go in, and then we were playing the competition. Who's going to hula hoop longest? So then at first, I lost. He goes, we need to practice more. And I remember how we practiced. We just practiced it, just hula hoop, hula hoop, hula hoop. And then I got better than he did, and I last longer than he did. And then after that point, then I hula hoop longer, and I won all of it, and all the games and all this other stuff. And then that must have been and then after that, I just wish that you could use your imagination and have fun chasing like a kid at play. Because then when you're like having really, really, really fun, then you don't overthink. When you overthink, you do this thinking, and then you just gotta just let it loose and enjoy the ride.
Mm. Yeah, awesome. That's a great story and a great way to frame this, a great metaphor. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how I know you and I have talked about this in the past, that when you were growing up, you felt guilty for being successful, and there was pressure on you to pretend that you weren't as successful or not to be successful. And talk about how that kind of played a number on you as you were building your career.
It was just it was the constant replay in my nervous system, the ghost of Christmas past. I just wanted to think of it as that metaphorical story. Is that your nervous system, at least mine, when I'm about to succeed, it's going to trigger this response of Edgar Burnett, crime of existence. I shouldn't when I finally gelled into that. First I was a nitpicker who who's like a psychoanalysis, duh, and then a doctor who's just like hammer things away. I even hammered that one away. I was unbelievable about the crime of existence. When I gelled into it, it's sort of like I accepted it and said, oh, this makes perfect sense. So that then I was just wired, probably from birth, from a third world country where mama probably gave birth to me in a very stressful way, because I don't know, it must be a very stressful way. Then leaving Vietnam was very stressful, because then although we left, I think a month before, of in February of 74, 75 or something like that. And I was just a kid. I was either 3, 4 years old. So then my head was in her chest, my sister's chest. So I heard the sound of war. And then I still remember to this day a vague nightmare I had since I was a baby. And it was a roller coaster. And then the sky was really red. And I would get scared of just a pop, a firecracker, and a balloon. And then when the first moment when I knew hypnosis helped me, when I can slow down and realize is that, oh, my nervous system regressed to when I was in 4th grade. No, I'm sorry, 4 years old, 4 years old. And then that the map inside my head I thought was always the territory, but it's not. It's like a fairy cuckoo delusional nightmare on Elm Street. And then when I realized this, oh, I just said, slow down. Like I was able to do a fashion walk, uh, just going out there having extreme performance anxiety, just doing it. And after that, watching the fireworks, it was a really great anchor of success, of trying and doing. And so that when your nervous system goes back, it does do a lot of regression. But you got to know when it's lying to you and know what you need to do in order to get rid of the pain. When I started doing some setups, one of the first thought I had driving here to the office a few months ago, this is like during COVID, that I go, oh my gosh, I'm dying. I am dying. I'm dying of food poison. My stomach's going to die, because my stomach did die at that moment when I was a kid in 3rd grade. And then again when I was 15, it stopped functioning. So of course, duh. It's like you go easy going. You I mean your nervous system has these patterns that doesn't make sense. So then then float above. So then the first thought I had was, okay, well, that I was dying of food poison. I was going to vomit and do all this other stuff. I'm going to have to cancel all the appointment. And then, and then, then I want you guys to imagine that there's a mirror. And then in the morning, then remind yourself in the voice in your head, what do you want? What do you need? And what are you good at? So then the second voice came in and go, well, you've been for the last month, you got to a setups, you did 25, whatever amount it was, and your stomach hurts because this is a muscle pain. And then I realized at that moment that I shouldn't succumb to my first thought, but probably my second or my third thought is more meaningful. That the first thought is a delusional Freddy Krueger nightmare, most likely. Then I have to go look outside of myself to say, okay, then what's real and what's not. And then after that, what do you need to do to get rid of that pain?
Mm. So what you're saying is that you started to be able to float up above it, have some perspective, and get curious about what was really happening, so you could separate these old memories that were being held in your body, or the old stories you had, from what was actually happening in the moment.
Yeah, and then a lot of that Ghost of Christmas Past is stored in an emotional response. That was
Mhm.
it. Just an emotional response. That's it.
So
But
you
then, go ahead.
you used to believe your feelings. You used to believe, oh my God, I'm having this pain. This must be happening again. And then you would play out that story. And now you have perspective, so you can choose what you do in response to reality. Is that
Right.
what
Yeah.
you're
So
describing?
right. So that it's sort of like see what you're doing well. See it, and then then hear your voice go kind and more gentle to yourself. And
Mhm.
so when you make a correction action, then just rehearse it, and then rehearse it kind and gentle inside of you, because then that's where the magic needs to happen, like a kid at play,
Mhm.
like playing hula hoop, and then learning how to do it. And then also doing the multiplication. We back then the that was in the 80s, the 80s. Uh, One of my 3rd grade teacher, before I got sick and then went to the hospital, she would play the multiplication game and who would go fastest all the way around. And she get the card out. I would practice it, and then after a while, at first I wasn't the fastest, and I didn't win. I wanted to win over this guy. I was really ambitious. I want to win over this guy, and now I have a goal, so I wanted to win, and then I wanted to beat this guy. And then I wanted to sit right there in the front next to the teacher. That was my goal. I didn't want a prize. I didn't want any of that. I wanted to beat this guy because he was really good and he was fast. He knew his multiplication. And I would sit right where he was sitting because that was the front row, because that was my prize. So then now there, I got a goal, and I want you guys to see that, right? So then what did you have to do? Think backwards. So then I thought backwards back then. I go, okay, what do I need to do? So then I went with all the multiplication, write it down, then ask my sister and my brother to pop quiz me. We did flashcards, and then after I don't know how many tries, maybe the third time, I beat him consistently. And there was a cute competition between me and him, where and that when I got his seat, I knew that he wanted my seat back. He wanted his seat back, and I was going to keep my seat. And yeah, but then when we were a kid, didn't you know how to cursive? It took some time, and then when we did cursive, it took some time, and yet you got to see that this is what you want to do, and then accept how you are made and how you're wired. It's sort of like you got to accept this is the goal that you want, and you're going to do it no matter what. So, like in that example, then it wasn't a trophy. We weren't going to get a trophy. And there was this cheap treasure chest of stuff. I didn't want that. She wanted me to have one of that. I told her I didn't really want any of that. It was just her saying that I beat him was enough. And that if the more I did it, then afterwards she goes, "You sit right here." I said, "Okay." Then the pressure was on for me to stay in that seat. I didn't know who was going to want to get it back. And it was just having fun doing it, guys. It's make it easy and then develop that belief system.
So you found that playful mood was what made you free. It freed you up to go and just decide what you wanted and be willing to rehearse or take the steps and then get it.
Yeah, and you got to be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but notice I didn't really get everything the first time. It's either the third, and then, but when you get it, you really, really do get it. Yeah, here's the kicker: you got to get in there. Is this that maturity, at least as an adult person, you got to be master of that redundancy, and then have a great relationship with a mistake of failure. Because it's if we were to keep that childhood playful moments, like we play dress up or Barbie, that's where the best place that we adults can learn and keep that learning. And it's that playful moment where I want to just, if they want to come out with anything today in my talk, it's just that rehearse. First, you got to see what you want, accept this is what you want, and then rehearse it as the most playful moment when you are playing with GI Joes or with Barbie dolls, or oh, remember the kitchenette set that we got, and then the fake food that looked so real. Oh, I made mud pies that look so real, and then I made a mistake in eating my mud pie, and I realized that ooh, well, dirt didn't taste very good, and then and making a mistake, and then realize that well, you could still make the dirt pie, but it's then that's when I got older, and then I became a really great chef, and now I make really great desserts. So, but you gotta have fun. You gotta have fun doing it inside your nervous system because that's what you have to rewire that response.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta plan the moment when you're gonna have a twitch, and then know that it's lying to you. Your nervous system is lying to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It lies to you often.
I love it, Rose. Those are so many great stories and ways of looking at this. And so you were really, this is in NLP, it's called changing submodalities, where when you were imagining if you had that old moment floating up above it, seeing it from above with perspective, and then you turn the voice of your conscience down so it was gentle with you. And I'm imagining as you were describing it that when you said like go easy on yourself, that your muscles were probably looser in your body.
That's right.
So you were on purpose choosing to shift your mood to that and then becoming playful, which gave you a lot more resources to handle things.
That's right. When you then your mind will work clearly and logically when you are having a great relationship with a voice of nothing inside your head.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Yeah, great. So when we look at all the training you had before you learned this, so you were a trained counselor and therapist, you were helping people and very successful at it at the time, and this was all new to you. Share with people a little bit about the kinds of ways you used to sabotage yourself. I know that's totally over now, but there was a time when, and you weren't even aware of it, but there was a time when you would limit yourself and not do, like when you talked about doing that competition with the boy at school, you were totally capable of doing it or capable of doing the hula hoop. But there were times where even if you were capable, you chose to um, shoot yourself in the foot about things. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
think it would be helpful for people to hear some examples because they might be struggling with some similar things.
You can't copy what you envy. I used to really get jealous, anger, just batshit crazy over successful people. Uh, and I still have this weird thing on certain females and females. I really do. It's a weird thing, and it's a weird anchor that I have with my mom and my family of origin. Um, if you envy successful people, then you're going to go broke, right? So, which means when I first got the company, and then which is Southeast Hypnosis, I thought I was going to be broke. Uh, uh, and I was chasing um, the displeasure of failure more than success. Um, being trying to climb out of the financial rabbit hole that I created. Things were just easy when I first thinking back. I mean, I got all the decks of cards, right? But what wasn't there was I didn't think I had to work out. I thought I was perfect. I thought that I was already fairy godmother, or I thought that I was already Steve Jobs, and but that wasn't the case. When you have to just face yourself, the ugliness of all of that bad habit, and that if that makes sense, it was that battle of okay, ooh, God, Rose, you're ugly. You're ugly and you're mean. And you're letting yourself down. And but everything was there in place. And it was me that sabotaged it. You know, of course you could tell us it's like I would rather not recant that moment because it was very, 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 very painful. Painful for
Thank
me.
God it's over. Whew.
Yeah, it's just we just have to push it back. But it was a learning experience. You have to go through the painful walk so that you can then see yourself do the walk, but not just the trash talk. I was doing a lot of trash talking, and then the team, Scott and the team, called me up on my trash talking and held me accountable to pay my own rent at the office, uh, to plan and carry it out. Um, So, Bobby, I'm having a hard time thinking of an example. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No, I think you're giving us lots of great examples. So, yeah, but in the past, you always, if things weren't working out, you thought, well, there's nothing wrong with me. It must be the other people or the situation. And
Right.
so you would,
Or when I knew it was something wrong with me, I would go to when I was in third grade at the hospital, fairy godmother land, make believe.
mhm,
I would tell a story because it was painful and I had all these equipments all over my body and I was in bed for close to a month or two. Walking was really miserable. I remember that. Walking was horrible after being in bed for about a month or two. And then it, it was that same experience, being paralyzed in the same way when I started this business, learning this whole new hypnosis all over, learning how to help clients change, get the testimonies in this way versus the clinical way. And it was that's the best way I can explain it. Is that I felt like I was in third grade and my stomach failed. I had a cyst and I had thousands of everything around me and I couldn't walk or breathe. So then I had to just make up a story. And unfortunately, my story didn't match my action, right? And it was a complete mismatch. But then it was safer to go to make believe land and I was zoned out. And I know that I've done or said things that just like it was like, oh gosh, I don't like it. I'm heartbroken by it. I don't really honestly remember really. It's just because back in third grade, that's what I learned how to do.
well, and at that
This is
time, when you were going through
yeah,
those health problems, it wasn't really in your control. It was happening to you.
yeah, and then but then back then in third grade, I wanted that control and I want it all gone. And then it was that nobody could save me. So then I saw my parents as their true self, not as Santa Claus. And I wanted my parents to remain Santa Claus.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And then,
You had
but
this
then
huge disillusionment all of
yeah,
a sudden.
and then having to then to grow up so that I'm putting the two analogies together as best I can explain when I got the business again, and it was really a painful trip because the two was just circled and meshed together just like this, and I didn't know which one or the other. And but knowing now, I know is this knowing is this now. You do something about it now. So
Mhm. Yeah. So you thought that your parents, up until that moment, they were the ones who took care of you. But when you were going through those health problems, they couldn't do it. And as a kid, it's scary to realize, oh my God, my parents can't even fix this. They can't really help me. And so you had the same thing over again.
yeah, so which means doesn't it make sense why I have this delusional thinking that somebody was going to save me,
Hmm.
that somebody there would be a hero, there would be somebody in knight in shining armor. There's a money tree especially for Rose. That started in third grade. That started in third grade. And it's hilarious how when you're like 52, there's still a little bit of that little make believe in there. But that's how it all started. And then it's just sort of like this hot, spicy stew that just put some coconut milk in there and then you can just cool it down a little bit and it won't be so spicy. Or just throw it away, basically, if it's too spicy soup. Just throw it away. Start all over again. You don't have to
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah, and your
so
fantasy world is great as long as you're using it to help you. But the thing that was missing was that there was no sense of agency in you to do something. You were waiting for somebody to do it for you.
right, right, and then and that was that place that got me stuck, was this is that I knew that mom and dad couldn't do anything. It was up to the doctor, and it was that the doctor would say that, that your body was healed. But then I was never patient with a healing step. I was always the pressure was way too much on. Even probably even prior to being third grade. Probably as I was born, the pressure was way too much, uh, was to succeed or to do it better or to exist. The pressure was always to survive and to exist. And then when my stomach started failing, my stomach in your abdomen, imagine that third grade, about 80 pounds, maybe 60 pounds, that I had this red rash around my stomach. And then the doctor told me, because if I got it right, your stomach start working. When it fades away, we will know that it worked again. Okay, so I was so impatient. I want to accelerate it, health, healing. So this is what I do. So I rubbed it. I rubbed the yellow thing, the red thing away, and I rubbed it, because there's nothing else I needed to do. I was sitting there bored out of my mind. So I would rub it. And then when the doctor came, it goes, ah, ah, that red thing is gone. Your stomach should be working, but it's not working. And I go, ooh. Ooh. The other little kid go, ooh. Maybe I keep rubbing it will still keep working. It will keep working. It will still keep on working. I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to tell the doctor that I've been rubbing my belly. And then one of the doctor goes in and goes, "Did you rub your belly and get the thing away?" I said, "Yes." I said, "That's why it's not working." And then when he mentioned it, I go, "Yes." But then when I go, "Yes," there was that not there was that scrutiny instead of going, "Oh yeah, yes." And so that's when I learned how to manipulate and read people to get the monkey off the back.
So it
And
so you didn't feel safe admitting that because he was scornful of you instead of
he wasn't. He was. Yeah, that's what I thought. But in
yeah.
every respect, I was more scornful of myself.
You felt
And
self-conscious because he found out.
yeah, and then because I wanted to get well so fast, I wasn't patient through the recovery process because I just got surgery. And it's a normal thing where your stomach is going to take some time to recuperate. The doctors, the nurses, I remember endlessly. This is how I took their education. Charlie Brown. I was the parent. And I didn't want to hear or mind them because I was thinking, F you. This is painful. You expect me to learn something when there's something is I have tubes everywhere. And I was thinking, really? And so anyway, so then that's that's sometimes if it's tell that story, is that I've been having a stubborn streak since then because then it's sort of like back then I was thinking, really, I can't believe you're telling me something so technical and you expect a kid with all of this to get what you're saying, and no one knew that, and no one saw that, and they kept on educating, and then this one doctor went in, and then he goes, if I remembered it right, he goes said he knew I was lying, and it was my physical therapist that got me to walk and blow that little thing that you inhale, uh, that little ball that goes up. And he was my physical therapist, and then he was also my respiratory therapist. And then that was one. I mean, he was a great coach because he demanded that I get out of the hospital bed, and he wanted me to go home. And I remember him saying this to me, or one of the doctor. I figure it was him because he goes, the old man next door wanted to tell you this. Mind your business. You get better. He's leaving, and he wants you to leave. And he said, he sounded like a crabby old man. Mind your business. You get better. I'm older than you. Like he was like, what the hell? And then so then I was using all sorts of excuse, and then that's what gets you stuck. And so I'm saying this is sort of like when you're about to succeed and you're thinking that nothing's going right. I just want you to think this is that it's going back and replaying that moment. The worst moment you might have might end up being around third grade.
Yeah.
And so if that analogy makes sense, why everything was just a disaster at Sati's Hypnosis for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, well, when you were a kid in that situation, that physical therapist gave you tough love and there was pressure on, and he could physically get you to do it. As an adult, it's a lot easier to get away with things.
And then he, as that analogy, is that Scott and the team is the physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, because the physical therapist got me out of bed. And then when he said that story, I remember something like, mind your own business. The old man want you to mind your own business. And you got to get yourself out of this hospital bed. He was saying that you're younger and you're still in the hospital and he's leaving and he's embarrassed for you. Kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So which means I don't even know if the old man really said that or not. And that's not the mute point, but he intensified that pain enough because that I was doing a lot of woe is me in that hospital. And then I should have recovered quicker, but that's why I was in bed for so damn long, because all I could just chase was just the pain instead of what people who experience grief or traumatic events, they are looking at, okay, let's go home.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't see beyond what you were.
At one moment, I couldn't. Not until the physical therapist said, mind your own business. You get better. The old man left. He's better now. You're still here. And how old are you? And how old is this old man? And so, I don't know, but he's da da da. You're da da da. Anyway, and then he got me out of bed.
So it was the hula hoop competition all over again.
And then, so he got me to be that competitive edge. Right. That is right. So which means that, so then he goes, so how quick can you get home? And then when he goes, and then when I thought of home, I thought of having a home cooked meal because I told him I'm tired of American food. You guys, your food tastes terrible. And he goes, then if you go home, what would your mother make? It's called jiao, which is my mother will make it for me. Take her 12 hours to do it with a whole bunch of ginger. But it's that's how she expressed love at that moment. It's with food. And I'm appreciative of that. So that's how he got me home. So then I was looking to go home and to have great food. And the first one my mother made was actually jiao, because this is what I wanted, which is rice chicken noodles, rice chicken soup, rice. And then so that's how he got me home. So then how did he got me to get out of bed after waddling at self-pity for maybe 2 months, probably or longer, was is that there was a concert. All right. And then the day before, he was a great hypnotist, this physical therapist. So he goes, wouldn't it be great? You got out of bed and there'd be a concert. You can walk to the window so you can see what's going on, because there might be a concert. So I go, would there be a concert? So I started imagining a concert. So the next day I go, oh God, there's a concert. And then he was there. I said, so where's the concert? He goes, well, walk to the window because there's a little couch there to find out. And he goes, so I got a hold of my little, go in there, walk, oh God. And I was like, I felt like an 80-year-old woman just out of breath, and it hurts. And it was just walking each step. He goes, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So, hooray, I finally got there. And I goes, so where are they? He goes, oh, on top of the roof. And then, but I enjoyed what I did. What I enjoyed the watching the people living their life in the sun. When I looked down, and that was in Galveston. So then people in Galveston love the outdoors, and I just, even though the hospital is a sad place, outside the hospital, I saw was a lot of people living life with sunshine and joy. And that you could step out of the hospital, and then if I stepped out the hospital this way, which is that you're going to always have to manage this health with your stomach, and you keep the joy. Just manage it and keep the joy. So it's like everybody else. But yet, when I left the hospital, with this unique, special, because I'm the only one who has the disease of the blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense? So that when you're thinking you're special, you have a special disease of the worry doll, and only you have this special disease. And then when I came home, oh, did I really knew how to play it? I would go, and then I don't have to do anything. I would get a dress, go, and then I'll get a dress. Oh, and then my brother wanted me to learn how to ride a bike. I felt bad about this one, actually. I didn't go, oh. So I got away with not learning how to bike. But he gave up because mom and dad put the pressure on him to telling him, you need to stop teaching your sister how to ride a bike because she's been through too much, and blah, 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 blah. So which means throughout the ride of my life, I learned how really, which is manipulate people. You do it for me. I don't have to do anything. I always enjoy you doing things for me. But I knew that it wasn't right.
Mm-hmm. And it also got in your own way. So you were an expert manipulator and you knew how to play the system. But in the end, it actually it hurt you. You didn't achieve as much as you could have.
Yeah, and then so that it was just like facing a crossroad it's like admitting and owning your bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
If this makes sense, to get to a positive change, to a good habit, you have to admit and see and accept this is your bad habit. Not in like, oh, woe is me, or but just like an even Steven kind of like, oh, okay. Like I can now just sort of laugh about it instead, and then, or a tear will come up. I can laugh about it now. Whereas if there's either a faint moment of just sadness, it's just a faint moment. But then it's more laughing about it and making a joke out of it so that people can learn from my story, and then they can do it better.
Yeah, that's a great story, Rose. I've never heard this story before, but I love it. And I think it really illustrates how this unfolds. I bet a lot of people who are listening can relate. I sure have done things like this in my life, so I get it. And I think it's really just interesting to see how it plays out. So if you never had that accountability in place, and when you got Southeast Hypnosis and then you built it up and you stepped up to the plate and you did what you need to do, then you were able to do it about possibility, right? Just like when you got out of that bed to go see the concert or to have the Dao soup, it was about possibility and what you wanted
Right.
and joy. And so that as you're going towards that and imagining those possibilities, it's easier for you to take action.
That's right.
Yeah. So do you find that now that you know these patterns and you know how to work it, you can do it in smaller ways where you might not be necessarily in as much pain, or maybe the reward isn't as big, but that you can help yourself stay focused because you know how to interact with situations better?
Right. Right. And it's learning the power for good with good intentions. It's just what's going to keep you safe.
Hmm.
It's just says that the things you want to do. What is the intention? What's the outcome? What it said. What do you want to get out of it, and what do you want to get out of someone else? So then, uh, as easy and simple as it is, it wasn't really in the past. It is easier now, where I can then focus on that dovetail outcome, where it was hard because of what was of that ghost of Christmas past, and I needed again that story of the physical therapist, which is Scott and the team, which is then came in to say, okay, I expect you to do this, kind of that gentle nudge, and then with the amount of manipulation I did, then it was him teaching me and you guys teaching me is that I got to do it, and that was been the learning all along, which means if you have to succeed, you got to do the action to do it. You got to do it, not the North Star, not Timbuktu, not some make believe teddy bear. You got to do it, and then you got to plan a mistake. You're going to make one, and then um, strategize and plan it, do it, and have a great relationship with a mistake, not thinking that you're never going to make one, because we're all going to make mistakes. And then it's going to be a great way to learn to do it differently.
Hmm.
So you get to benefit from the results you put into it.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So in a big picture way, what happened for you was that it was like there was this little hole in your development that said, I need people to rescue me. And if they do, then I know I'm safe. That was the subconscious drive to keep them.
That's right.
And you learned how to shift that to, I keep myself safe because I decide what I want and I take action and make it fun, like hula hooping, and that you're willing to rehearse.
That's right. And then that you got to rehearse success that way.
And then the thing about fear of failure, like when you said you plan to do something and make a mistake, and that could be okay and it could be fun and you can learn from it, was that when the pressure was on you to be successful, when you thought it was your responsibility, when you were a kid, you imagined that if you didn't pull through, then you were not worthy or that you weren't good enough or something along those lines. And so,
Actually, if I didn't pull through, it was that I was going to die.
uh huh.
It was, get how you always work on a positive intention. When I get to that place, it's I will make a list of what I'm great at, and that what is worth going, and that I'm healthy, and I'm all right,
Hmm.
and because then there will be that moment where my nervous system will create the crime of existence.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It sure does.
And then because then I'm worth the effort to put into, and then I plan to negate that crime of existence by eating right, getting healthier, walking, a lot of physical activity, planning my day. I plan the weekend a lot better now and staying busy, because an idle body is a messed up head. It's a trash talk. An idle body, a lazy body ends up going to be a stinking thinking, a mess up head, that Frederick Krueger nightmare. I was done with that. I was completely done with it. And I do plan it where I stay busy and Aaron, my husband, stays busy. And because then that was the weekend where we spend more time together. And because then I just do it now. Instead of thinking about it, I just do it. And then staying busy and planning like things that we can do as a family. It's just, you gotta, it's like staying busy.
Yeah, you're choosing to live and to be in the real world and out of your head.
Mhm.
And so you've learned what will help you more, and you're using hypnosis and NLP to help you use your senses and get your emotions on board, and then rehearsing the actions over and over so that you can get a different result.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And you rehearse it. You have to rehearse it in like that moment before you fall asleep.
Mhm.
When you want to just sunbathe in a nice tropical your private island and can hear the seagulls and the temperature's just right and the cloud is the bluest cloud you've ever seen, and then it's just that your nervous system, your body has just really slow way down. Because when you worry, you just worry. When you plan things out, you got to stay at a uh, a stress scale of a 1
Mhm.
or even a 0.05, just like that moment before you fall asleep, because then you can only chase fun when you make it fun. But then when you chase failure and scrutiny, is when you worry. So which is that for me, it was getting my nervous system used to experiencing nothing
Mhm.
and being okay with nothing in the head and nothing in my body.
Mhm. And you had these experiences as a kid that were life and death experiences, which must have been pretty frightening for a child. So you needed to retrain yourself because you were coming at everything from that view for a very long time.
Hmm. Either at the third grade or back when I was either 4 years old. It's those two moments.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. This is
Because
great.
then it was, I wanted a home. I wanted people to love me. It was not not so, because then we had to leave. And it was just, that was just a little babe. And I
Mhm.
could see why I got the health problems I did, actually. From leaving Vietnam up until that was at Jones Elementary in Orange, Texas, to where that moment.
Mhm.
I went to fairy godmother land, and all the stress compounded in and layered it and made the what was the cyst or whatever it was worse, because I didn't know how to let go,
Mhm.
because I thought that I had to be perfect. And then that there was this way I was overwhelmed, and I saw life as a series of just performance anxiety, that I was scared to do anything. So then I'd rather just stay in fairy godmother land
Mhm.
or fairy tales.
Yeah. Well, I love your imagination, Rose, and you have such great stories and imagery. And now you're learning how to use that to help yourself and other people with hypnosis, which is a great way
That's
to
right.
channel all of those amazing, fun abilities you have. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so thank you. I hope that this helps people who might be in similar situations to know how to navigate and to change it for themselves. Rose, go ahead and share with people how they can reach you if they want some help or more information about what you do.
So they can check me out at the website. It's southeasthypnosis.com. Uh, Call me at 281-996-8000. Again, 281-996-8000. And then we can help you with anything you may need.
All right, great. Thanks so much. And if people want to learn more about how you can learn more hypnosis to help you or other people, you can also go to hypnosistrainingcanada.com. We have some great free downloads for you there. And also, if you're ready, you can meet with me for a free consultation to see if this training is a good fit for you. So thanks again, Rose. This was a lot of fun. And I learned so much about you that I never knew before. And I think your stories will help people a lot. So I really appreciate you being here. If you want a quick, easy way to relieve stress, join us for next week's podcast where hypnotist and yoga instructor Shannon Keys-Suchevich will be teaching us how to do hypnobreath, a combination of yoga, breathing, and hypnosis. And if you're wanting to discover more about how hypnosis training can help you, go to hypnosistrainingcanada.com and schedule your free consultation. Remember to click the button subscribe, share this podcast with a friend, and please leave us a review so you can help others benefit from the podcast too. Until next week.
You've been listening to The Hypnosis Show with Robbie Spear Miller. Tune in next time to learn more about how you can change your life with hypnosis. And if you are interested in learning more about training opportunities, go to hypnosistrainingcanada.com and schedule a free consultation.